My son, Kobe Heisler, he was 21 years old and on the autism spectrum. He was having a bad day that day. Actually won't name the fast food joint that messed up his food order, but that's what the argument with his grandparents started over, and the grandfather just left him at the Wendy's, which was like 6 blocks away. Came back and he was mad, and then he decided to start threatening to hurt himself, which was one of the things that, he would do. He didn't just threaten to hurt himself. He would hurt himself. About 2 months previous, he took a large kitchen knife and stuck it into his abdomen, and then spent about 2 months in an involuntary hold, which he was not happy with. Since then, he had been out doing day programs, really enjoying those, doing art programs and stuff like that, and on his medication and everything. I hear perhaps maybe some issue happened with his medication. I'm not even sure, so I can't even speak to that. So the grandfather who he lived with the grandmother and grandfather, because my son was threatening to hurt himself with some weapons. They called the police out of concern for him, and he almost instantly de-escalated, which, as people who have people with mental health issues or autism or any sorts of these things know, there can be an escalation, but then a quick de-escalation, so that was kind of normal. And so he had de-escalated, so the grandfather called 911 back, the Brooklyn Center Police Department back, and said, Kobe's fine. We don't need your assistance anymore. Well, as I said, they made it an executive decision to come. Anyhow, I assume because a weapon was mentioned, but as I say, that weapon would have been used on himself. He has a history of that. He has zero history of ever hurting anybody, nor do people who have mental health issues and or autism have any statistics to prove that they're more likely to hurt people. They are more likely to hurt themselves. And so they like I said, they reversed the call. They came anyhow. They actually had a conversation with my son for a good 12 minutes, had patted him down. It was summertime, he didn't have much clothes on. He certainly had nothing on him. And at one point, when they had mentioned that the ambulance was going to come, well, he was a pretty clever kid. He was like, no, because if I go into the ambulance, you're going to take me onto a psych hold again, and it's not going to be just 48 hours because it's a holiday weekend. And so that now he's looking at not getting out until after Tuesday. And my poor son just started, put his head in his hands. He just started crying, saying, you're lying to me. If you take me out there, they're going to bring me to the hospital and they're not going to let me go. And I don't even know what happened. He just got up and moved quick, and they tased him and shot him all at once, including in the head. They shot him multiple times. I can't even tell you how many bullet holes he has in his body, because they haven't told me. And the only reason I know that he has a bullet in his head is because when we finally were able to view the body, that's what I saw. And this is a boy who never hurt a fly. This was a boy who only took care of people and loved the beauty of things and creating things. He crocheted. I actually finished a blanket. Does it turn? Yeah. Okay. He had started crocheting a blanket for his cousin that his dad found after he had passed away, and I finished that for him. For my daughter, when she was into Minecraft, he made her a Minecraft storage box. When she was into anime, he made her a life-size doll of her favorite character with accessories and everything, like little earphones, a little microphone on it, just everything. He was so caring and so creative. He took care of the kids in his neighborhood. He was a part of the Hard Times Bike Club, which is now called the Black Label Bike Club. They do all the fancy bikes. They would lead the May Day parades, and so him and his dad were always a part of that. Always had fun rickshaw bikes and And anytime Brooklyn Center would have like a neighborhood engagement, they would bring all those bikes out, and my son would be the one to ride all the neighborhood kids around, and they just loved him. He was taking care of his grandma and grandpa who weren't in good health. The grandma is not very mobile at all. And when I had asked him, well, why don't you come live up north with us? He said, well, I will, Mom. I said, but I got to take care of grandma and grandpa first. Like he was a caretaker. He had gone to school, gone to college to be a chef. He was just an amazing kid. And they literally, the way I see it now is that the police at this point have decided that they are judge, jury, and executioner. How dare they come to a house when somebody's in crisis, threatening to hurt themselves, actually have the call reversed, and still think that it's appropriate for the outcome to be my son laying dead in his own home. And then to be left for so long that he can't even donate an organ. Do you know that's important to some people? All of his stuff was good except for his heart. He already had heart surgery at 10 and a half months. I thought I went through all the tragedy and trauma I was going to have to, and the fear I was going to have to deal with my son. But as I said, that it was 4 days before my son was murdered that I said out loud that I was afraid I would get a call, because I have been in fear. I have been working on mental health boards, reading the newspaper. As we've said, me and Ms. D, we've been working together with the other families of police violence, and I don't know what the percentage is, but at least 30 to 40% of the families that we're dealing with, their deaths were due to wellness checks and mental health crisis situations. And my mind was blown when we were talking to Mr. Ellison the other day, and he said that 95% of police calls are for social or mental health situations. It's only 5% of police calls are for actual crime, violent criminal events. So I guess I'm confused as to why our police force are armed to the hilt, come into situations with guns drawn before they even know what's going on, and as I see it, shoot first, hope somebody's alive, to ask questions later. And if that isn't bad enough, that we as a community and people who are supposed to hold our elected officials accountable have let this continue on. In Minnesota alone, there are over 400 police murders. We say a lot of Black Lives Matter, but we're fighting for everybody's lives. It's white, it's black, it's native, it's Hmong. It's that the police are completely out of control. And my understanding is they're also, apparently, because when we bring up these stories, a lot of people say, well, why don't they just shoot him in the knee? Why don't they? Well, what I found out is apparently, and I haven't verified this, but apparently our police officers are trained to kill. And I'm not even sure if ordinary citizens know that. I did not know that. I expect that my police officers are trained to protect and serve. I expect maybe perhaps my military to be more heavily trained and more combative, but certainly not the people that are supposed to protect and serve our communities, the communities that they should be living in.